It speaks to us all, not just the chosen. The village stirs, whispers growing louder. What does it mean? The drum never speaks so boldly, never to so many. The villagers gather, confusion painting their faces. Is it a blessing? Or a curse? One asks, his voice trembling. The talking drum is no simple instrument. It's said to hold the power to connect with spirits, to speak the will of the gods. The elders are its keepers, entrusted to guide the village with its wisdom. But now, the drum speaks to everyone, and no one knows why. The panic grows. People glance around, looking for answers. The village chief raises his hand, his voice low and urgent. The drum, he says, his eyes sharp. It must be returned to its sacred place. The gods do not speak in such a way without a reason. But when the elders rush to the shrine, their steps quick with dread, they find it empty. The sacred drum, the heart of their village, is gone. The chief's face twists in shock. It has been stolen, he says, his voice filled with disbelief. The drum is gone. The villagers mutter amongst themselves, fear creeping like a shadow over their faces. Who would dare? Who would steal the drum? One woman cries. This is no simple theft. This is a betrayal. The sound of the drum continues to pound, its rhythm growing louder, faster. Each beat strikes deep, shaking the earth beneath their feet. The sky, as though understanding the fear of the villagers, darkens for a moment. A cold wind sweeps through the crowd. It feels as though the heavens themselves are watching, waiting for the truth to unfold. Is it a sign? A man asks, his voice hoarse. A sign that doom is coming? Another voice rises, shaking with worry. The drum controls fate. It speaks of future, of truth. Whoever holds it holds power over us all. The village falls silent. The fear is palpable. What if someone with bad intentions controls the drum now? Betrayal lingers in the air, thick and heavy. The chief stands still, scanning the crowd. There is no one to trust, he mutters, turning his gaze on his fellow elders. One among us has taken it. Who among us would dare to betray the village? The question hangs, unanswered, like a cloud over the gathering. The panic begins to take form. The villagers, gripped by fear, murmur to each other. What if the thief is among us? What if they wish to control our fate? The chief's eyes harden, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. We will find the thief. We must. This cannot go unpunished. And through the growing chaos, one figure stands at the edge of the crowd, watching in silence. Nia, her eyes sharp, her mind whirling. She feels something stirring inside her, a need to act. She's always felt the weight of her family's legacy, overshadowed by her father's fame, and the painful mystery of her brother's disappearance. But now, she feels the pull of something greater. Something that cannot be ignored. Who stole the drum? She thinks, her heart racing. Why? What does it mean? She steps forward, her thoughts clear. I will find the truth. I will uncover what is hidden, she vows. The quest is beginning. But the road ahead is uncertain, and the price for truth may be higher than she's ready to pay. The village may be torn apart by betrayal, but Nia feels something stirring within her, a strength she never knew she had. Her journey to uncover the truth of the stolen drum is only just beginning, and with it, the mystery of her brother's disappearance might finally be solved. Nia stands in the village square, her gaze fixed on the circle of elders gathered around the fire. Her father, Elder Oma, speaks with his high-ranking friends, his words deep and wise, but Nia feels like a shadow in the background. She is proud of him, yes, but also frustrated. Her father's fame has cast a long shadow over her, and no matter how hard she tries, she feels invisible. She longs to prove herself to be seen, not just as the daughter of a great elder, but as someone with strength, courage, and a purpose of her own. Her fingers twitch at her side, a restless energy burning inside her. But it's not just her father's position that weighs on her. There's a pain in her chest, a grief that never fades. Her brother, Kwame, disappeared years ago without a trace. The village mourned, yes, but Nia's heart still aches for him. She believes his disappearance is tied to the sacred talking drum, the village's most powerful and mysterious relic. The drum holds the secrets of the spirits, and Nia is convinced that it's the key to finding her brother. She just doesn't know how yet. The rumors she's heard, the whispers of its power. Something in those stories calls to her, urging her to seek the truth. She knows the drum isn't just an instrument. It's a bridge to something much larger, something that could explain her brother's vanishing. But it's also dangerous, and no one in the village speaks of it lightly. Still, Nia is determined. The truth lies within the drum. She just has to unlock it. Nia walks quietly, her thoughts swirling, until she reaches Baba Kofi's humble home. Baba Kofi is the village's oldest and wisest elder, the keeper of many secrets. He knows more about the drum than anyone. She approaches him, her heart pounding, and asks the question that has been on her mind for so long. Baba Kofi, what do you know about the drum's power? My brother. Was he taken by it? Baba Kofi's face hardens, his eyes growing somber. Some truths are better left unknown, my child, he warns her in a low voice. The drum is not for you. It has a power that is both a blessing and a curse. It is not something to seek lightly. Nia's heart skips a beat, but she stands firm. She cannot turn away now. She cannot leave her brother's memory to fade into the darkness. But Baba, I must know. If the drum holds the answers, I have to find them. I have to find Kwame. Baba Kofi shakes his head slowly, his voice quiet but full of warning. You don't understand, Nia. Some mysteries should remain hidden. There are forces beyond our control. The drum speaks to the spirits, and it chooses who can hear its voice. Not all answers are meant to be found. Nia hesitates, but the fire in her heart won't be extinguished. I must try, she says, her voice firm. The next morning, as the sun rises, a stranger enters the village. His name is Juma, and his presence is like a shadow falling across the people. He carries himself with ease, his smile smooth, his voice like honey as he speaks of the talking drum. He claims to have knowledge of its secrets, and the elders, eager for any help, welcome him with open arms. But Nia feels something stir in her chest as she watches him. There's something about Juma's eyes, too calculating, too aware of everything around him. Is he a friend? Nia wonders, but deep down, she feels uneasy. Juma speaks often of the drum, his words slipping effortlessly from his lips. He claims to know the way to unlock its power and speaks as though he is one of the drum's chosen. But Nia doesn't trust him. She can hear the subtle twists in his words, feel the weight of his unspoken intentions. One evening, as the sun begins to set and the village murmurs with uncertainty, the first whispers reach Nia. The drum. It's gone, they say. It has been stolen. Nia's heart races. Could Juma be involved? She watches him from across the village, his gaze flickering as the rumors spread. His smile is too calm, too controlled. Could he have taken it? She thinks. Does he know something we don't? The tension in the air thickens. Villagers gather, speaking in hushed tones, their fear palpable. Who would steal such a thing? Someone whispers. Who would dare? Nia watches Juma closely, and when their eyes meet, something shifts. He doesn't look surprised. Instead, he seems almost pleased by the chaos he has stirred. Determined to uncover the truth, Nia approaches him. Her voice is steady, but her heart beats fast. Why are you really here, Juma? She demands. What is your connection to the drum? Juma laughs softly, the sound like the rustling of leaves. Why, to help of course, he says, his voice smooth, soothing. But I see you have the heart of a warrior, Nia. Perhaps we can help each other. Nia pauses. His words twist around her, pulling her in, but something deep inside her warns her to be cautious. She knows Juma is dangerous, but he might also hold the key to the answers she seeks. What are you hiding? She asks herself. Despite her doubts, she knows one thing for sure. She can't let him take control of the village's fate. She'll play along for now, but she won't trust him. Not fully. As the days pass, the village grows darker with suspicion. The talking drum is still missing, and Nia's resolve hardens. She will find her brother. She will find the drum. Whether she has to face Juma as an ally or enemy, she will not stop. The mystery of the drum, and the truth of her brother's disappearance, is calling to her. She will uncover it, no matter the cost. Nia could not shake the feeling that the talking drum held secrets that no one had yet uncovered. It called to her in ways words could not. Deep in the village library, she searched through scroll after scroll, her fingers brushing over ancient texts. There, hidden between the layers of dust and parchment, she found what she was looking for. The talking drum, she learned, was no mere instrument. It could control fate, unveiling hidden truths, predicting the future, and punishing those who had wronged others. This was the power that her brother, Kwame, might have fallen victim to. She couldn't ignore the feeling that the drum was more than just a mystery to be solved. It was a weapon, a force of nature, and the key to finding her brother. Her heart raced. If the drum could reveal the past and change the future, it could give her the answers she so desperately sought. Late that night, as the village settled into sleep, Nia met with her closest friend, Tund. "We need to know what's really happening with the drum," she whispered, her voice barely audible in the still night air. Tund nodded, his face serious. The two of them had been through many trials together, but this was different. They were about to venture into the heart of the village's most sacred place, the shrine of the talking drum. The path to the shrine was fraught with danger, but Nia and Tund moved like shadows, slipping past the village guards, their hearts pounding in their chests. They crept closer to the shrine, the silence broken only by their breath. When they finally reached the sacred space, their eyes widened in horror. The shrine, once a place of reverence, stood empty. The talking drum was gone. Tund's voice shook. Who would do this? Nia clenched her fists, frustration rising in her chest. "I don't know, but whoever did this, they've made a dangerous move." Her mind raced. The search for answers just became harder, but she couldn't stop now. Whoever took the drum knew its power, and that made them a threat to everything she held dear. As she wandered the village, Nia overheard a group of elders gathered in a hushed, frantic conversation. The words they spoke chilled her blood. "The drum must be destroyed," one elder said, his voice trembling with fear. "If we don't destroy it, we risk awakening an evil we cannot control." Another elder's voice was sharper. "We must act quickly. It's the only way to keep the village safe. The drum will destroy us if we don't destroy it first." Fear swept over Nia. The elders had already decided. The talking drum, the very source of their power, was now something to be feared. They had been convinced, by Juma she suspected, that destroying it was the only way to avoid catastrophe. But Nia couldn't accept that. There was too much at stake, and she knew that if the drum was destroyed, she might never get the answers she needed. So she followed Juma, keeping her distance, and found him in a hidden meeting with dark figures, talking in secret. "The time is near," Juma whispered, his voice full of greed. "Once I control the drum, the village will be mine. No one will be able to stand against me." Nia's heart raced. She had been right all along. Juma wasn't here to protect the village. He was here to take it for himself. His plan was to seize the drum's power, and in doing so, he would rule them all. The shock of this revelation left Nia frozen. But as the weight of the truth sank in, something darker came to light. She had always wondered why her brother had disappeared. What if Juma was connected to his vanishing? What if he had betrayed her family? She quickly gathered the courage to ask the villagers who had known her brother. What they told her turned her stomach. Juma had been around her family not long before Kwame disappeared. Could Juma have been the one to lead her brother into danger? Was he involved in his disappearance? With this knowledge, the rage inside Nia burned hotter than ever. "Juma," she said aloud, her voice filled with fury, "you will not get away with this." Nia confronted Juma the very next moment, her anger boiling over. "You're no stranger to us," she said, her voice trembling with the weight of what she knew. "You've been plotting against us from the very beginning. You've been using the drum for your own gain." Juma's eyes glinted with cold amusement. He stepped closer, his smile widening into something sinister. "You don't know everything yet, little girl. There's more at play than you realize." His voice was dripping with contempt, and Nia felt a surge of both fear and determination. "You won't take control of this village," she vowed, stepping closer, feeling the weight of her brother's memory and the drum's power urging her forward. "I will stop you. This ends now." Juma chuckled, and the sound sent a chill through Nia's spine. "You're too late," he whispered. "I already have what I need." Nia was no longer sure of anything, except that the drum's power and its secrets had to be unlocked. If it was the key to saving her brother, she had to find it, no matter what. The fight for control had begun, and Nia knew that the village's future, and the truth of her brother's fate, lay within the drum. And she would not stop until she had both. The air was thick with tension as Nia marched toward the sacred temple, her footsteps steady and determined. She had come too far to turn back now. "This ends now, Juma," she muttered, her heart pounding with the weight of the moment. Behind her, the elders stood in silence, their faces grim as the village prepared for war. This was the moment when everything would change. In the temple, Juma stood before the talking drum, a wicked grin spreading across his face. "You've come to stop me, little girl?" His voice was dripping with mockery, each word an insult. The air crackled with power. "You don't understand the power of the drum," he sneered, watching Nia as she took one step forward, her hands steady despite the storm brewing inside her. The village, once a place of unity, was now teetering on the edge of destruction. Rumors of Juma's betrayal had spread like wildfire. Some villagers wanted to fight, others wanted to negotiate. Fear and confusion filled the air. But Nia knew one thing for certain: the only way to stop the chaos was to stop Juma. And she was ready to do whatever it took. As she stood facing Juma, the truth hit her like a lightning bolt. Juma wasn't just after power, he was the one who had taken her brother. His eyes gleamed with malice as he spoke. "I didn't just steal the drum," he said, his voice cold. "I took your brother too." The drum made the village believe he died. "It was me, Nia. I manipulated everyone. I made them forget." Nia's world shattered. Her brother. Gone. And it had been Juma who had caused the pain, the confusion, the grief. She couldn't breathe. For a moment, she felt as though the ground beneath her feet would crumble. But she refused to let him see her weakness. You stole Kwame?" Her voice cracked, torn between disbelief and rage. "You used him?" Juma laughed, the sound cruel and cutting. But the anger inside Nia burned brighter than ever. She couldn't let him get away with this. "I will stop you, Juma," she whispered, her fists clenched, her eyes burning with determination. "No matter what it takes." Without warning, Juma raised his hands, chanting in a low, guttural voice. The air trembled. The talking drum began to glow, its dark power pulsing. The village shook as the drum's energy surged. "You cannot defeat me," Juma snarled. "I have the power now." Nia took a deep breath and reached into her pouch. She pulled out a hidden drum, the one her brother had once played. The one he had passed down to her. "This is the drum that can defeat yours," Nia said, her voice steady with resolve. She could feel her brother's spirit in the drum, guiding her. As Juma's power surged, Nia began to drum, her hands moving in a rhythm that was both familiar and foreign. She called upon the lessons her brother had taught her, the patterns, the beats, the strength in every strike. The sound of her drum clashed with Juma's, creating an explosive force that shook the very air around them. The two powers fought, swirling like a storm of energy, filling the temple with a deafening roar. "You can't control it anymore, Juma," Nia cried, her drumming fierce, her spirit unyielding. Juma's face twisted in fury, but Nia didn't hesitate. She drummed with all her might, using her brother's power to counter Juma's dark force. The temple shook, the drum's sounds reverberating through every corner of the village. With every beat, Nia's strength grew, her will becoming one with the rhythm of the drum. Finally, with a surge of energy, Nia struck one final, powerful beat. The temple erupted with light, and the force of the drum trapped Juma's magic. The ground trembled beneath them, and Juma collapsed, his body crumpling as the light from the drum consumed him. He had been defeated. But victory came at a cost. As Juma fell, chaos erupted in the village. The villagers, unsure of whom to trust, turned on each other. Shouts filled the air, anger and fear spilling out of hearts long twisted by Juma's manipulation. Some wanted to fight, others wanted peace, but the bond that once held the community together was now shattered. Nia, breathless and bruised, knew she couldn't let this spiral out of control. She needed to restore peace, to remind the villagers of their unity before it was too late. Her heart heavy, she made her way back to the temple. With unwavering strength, Nia placed the talking drum back in its rightful place, its sacred chamber. As she did, the temple calmed, the village quieted. The air, once thick with tension, now felt still. The drum belongs here, with the people, not with power-hungry men, she declared, her voice steady and firm as she turned to face the elders and the villagers who had gathered to witness the battle. The truth of Juma's betrayal spread quickly. The villagers began to heal, slowly but surely. Yet, even as Nia stood victorious, a deep weight pressed on her chest. Her brother was still gone, lost to a world that had been manipulated by greed and power. The battle is over, but the story is far from finished, she thought. Her heart, though heavy with the loss, carried a glimmer of hope. The village would heal, and one day, she would find the answers she sought. The war for the drum was done, but the journey for truth had only just begun. The air was thick with joy as the village erupted into celebration. The drums beat with a rhythm of triumph, their sound echoing across the land. The villagers sang and danced, their voices filled with gratitude. Nia has saved us, they shouted, their faces bright with relief and admiration. Nia stood among them, exhausted, but her heart swelled with pride. Her hands still shook from the battle, but she held herself tall. The elders approached, their eyes no longer filled with doubt but with respect. They had watched her grow from a young girl into the village's savior. "You have proven yourself, Nia," said Elder Oma, her voice soft but powerful. "The talking drum is yours to protect." The villagers nodded in agreement, their murmurs rising in a chorus of respect. Nia simply nodded back, humbled but resolute. The weight of the responsibility ahead of her was not lost on her, but she would not falter. The elders' voices echoed with pride as they announced her as the new guardian of the sacred drum. The village gathered around, silent now as the truth about Nia's brother Kwame was revealed. The elders spoke of the years of suffering, of how Juma had kidnapped him to keep him from inheriting the drum's power. A heavy silence fell upon the people. Nia's heart ached at the knowledge of her brother's sacrifice, but she held her head high. The pain of losing him would never leave her, but she was determined to honor his memory by protecting the village. Her father, who had once doubted her, now stood before her with eyes filled with both pride and regret. "You were right all along, Nia," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You've done what I could not. You are a true leader." Nia's heart swelled at his words. She gave a small, grateful nod, but the emptiness of her brother's absence still weighed heavily on her soul. The village leaders then turned to Juma, who stood in the center of the gathering, his defiance still burning in his eyes. "You have betrayed us, Juma," Elder Kofi said, his voice stern and unyielding. "Your plans have failed. You will leave this village and never return." The words fell like a heavy stone, and Juma's defiance was crushed. His dreams of power lay in ruins, and he had no choice but to leave, defeated and broken. The villagers, once fearful of his influence, now watched as he was forced out, a shadow of the man who had once threatened their peace. As Juma was led away, the elders gathered again, this time to speak of the talking drum. "It can bring wisdom, but it can also destroy," Elder Oma said solemnly. "We must respect it, for it is both a blessing and a curse." Nia listened, her heart heavy with the understanding of the drum's power. She stood before it, knowing the responsibility now rested on her shoulders. "I will protect it," she vowed, her voice firm and full of resolve. The villagers, hearing her words, trusted her completely. The drum would no longer be misused. As the sun set, casting a soft glow over the village, Nia took her place beside the talking drum. The village had healed, but her journey was far from over. "I will never let its power be misused again," she swore. Her voice was steady, filled with a newfound strength. The villagers watched, their hearts filled with hope and trust. Nia stood alone in the fading light, watching the village return to peace. Though the weight of her brother's loss still lingered in her heart, she knew her story was just beginning. "The drum is safe," she whispered to herself. "But my story is just beginning." Nia stood alone, her gaze fixed on the talking drum. The echoes of the battle still rang in her ears, the memories of chaos and destruction fresh in her mind. "Power is not to be taken lightly," she whispered, the words thick with understanding. She thought of Juma's ambition, how it had turned into a hunger that consumed him and nearly destroyed everything. The drum, with all its magic and strength, had been a tool of destruction in his hands. Now she knew power, when misused, only brings ruin. The elders gathered around her, their faces etched with the wisdom of years. Elder Alma spoke first, her voice rich with experience. "The drum can bring wisdom or ruin," she said. "It is not the power that is dangerous, but how it is used." Nia nodded, the weight of those words sinking deep into her heart. The elders had given her the responsibility of guarding the drum, and now, she understood the true meaning of that duty. It was not the drum's power that frightened her, but the hands that might try to control it. Nia's thoughts drifted to Juma, his fall from grace still fresh in her mind. "Ambition can blind you," she muttered to herself. She remembered the way Juma had twisted his dreams into a dark obsession, his betrayal tearing the village apart. He had wanted control, and in his hunger for it, he had destroyed everything he once held dear. The loss of her brother, Kwame, still haunted her, but it also gave her strength. She would not let the same darkness swallow her village again. She turned to Tund, her closest friend, who stood nearby, his face filled with understanding. "I trusted Juma, but he betrayed us all," she said, her voice firm. Tund nodded, the sadness in his eyes mirroring her own. "It's the betrayal that makes the truth more painful," he said. Nia felt the weight of his words. The pain of betrayal was a wound that would never fully heal, but it had taught her an invaluable lesson about trust and loyalty. It was loyalty to her people, to the truth, that had guided her to victory. It was that same loyalty that would keep her strong. As Nia gazed at the talking drum again, she realized there were still secrets it held, secrets that no one would ever fully understand. The drum will always have its secrets, she thought, her gaze steady. The power to control it remained beyond human reach. But Nia was ready. She would protect it, not for the glory or the power, but for the safety of her people. It was her responsibility now, and she would not allow it to fall into the wrong hands. "I will guard the drum with my life," she promised, her voice unwavering. Her heart was filled with resolve, the weight of leadership settling upon her shoulders. The villagers, once divided and fearful, were now united in peace. They were safe for now, but Nia knew the fight to protect them had only just begun. The lessons of power, trust, and betrayal would guide her, but she would face whatever came next with strength. For one final moment, Nia stood before the talking drum, her heart at peace. "The cost of power is high," she murmured, the truth of it echoing in her soul. She knew that her journey was far from over. There would be more challenges, more battles to fight. But she was ready. With a steady breath, she turned and walked away, the weight of leadership now fully upon her. Her path was clear, and her resolve was unshakable. The drum was safe, but the future was hers to protect.